Everyone got transported into a doomsday survival game, and they all went crazy scrambling to pick superpowers. I was the only one who chose endless money. Everyone else laughed at me, saying I was out of my mind. They said cash would just be scrap paper in the apocalypse. But what do those idiots know? Zombies aren't even the real threat. Living humans armed with the power of money are the truly terrifying ones. As the system notification chimed in, me and 300 other players were thrown straight into the game. All players have been confirmed dead in the real world. If you wish to earn a second chance at life, you must survive until the very end of this doomsday game. Right after that, the next phase began. It was time to pick our starting items. I just casually glanced at the stuff on the shelves. It was basically a huge variety of superpowers. The other players fought over them like absolute maniacs. I flipped straight to the very last page of the list and spotted a gold coin right at the bottom. It read, "Endless Wealth." I didn't even think twice and snatched that gold coin right up. Joe Furren, my class president who came in with me, picked mind control. When he saw me grab the gold coin, he just couldn't help but mock me. "Lin Yunshi, are you seriously that obsessed with money? It's literally the end of the world. What good is money gonna do you now?" Before I could even open my mouth to explain, he turned his head to look at the class beauty, Shu Junjen. "What about you, Junjen? HMPH, I can make every single human fall in love with me. Even the zombies will fall for me. With the shield of true love. There's no way I'll die." Once all the items were completely snatched up, the system chimed in once again. All players are granted 1 year to train your superpowers and complete all pre-war preparations. Doomsday mode will officially commence in exactly 1 year. This game will produce only one ultimate winner. Only the single player who survives until the very end will be eligible to claim the final grand prize. Hearing that rule, everyone's faces instantly dropped. Even the ones who had just agreed to team up were now staring at each other with eyes full of pure suspicion. In this twisted survival game, friends absolutely do not exist. Everyone is an enemy. Right after that, the system teleported us to random locations all across this game world. Without hesitating for a single second, I immediately kicked off my grand doomsday survival plan. After scouring the entire world map, I finally found a little island smack in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The island wasn't too big or too small, it was absolutely perfect for building a massive shelter. Plus, it was extremely far from the mainland, pretty much totally isolated from the rest of the world. It wasn't on a fault line, and it wasn't in any major storm paths either. There were 0 active volcanoes on the island, but it did have a completely natural stretch of flat land, which couldn't be more perfect for building an airstrip, and it was surrounded by lush green mountains, acting as the perfect natural cover. So, I got straight to work. I dropped $1 billion to buy the entire island and named it Future Island. I told the public I was developing a massive tourism project, and bought 10 huge cruise ships. Then, I signed construction contracts with NPC companies, shipping massive amounts of engineering vehicles and building materials straight to the island. I made sure to sign strict non-disclosure agreements with all the executives of those companies. They literally had no idea where Future Island even was. The moment the cruise ships docked, the workers instantly started building a makeshift airstrip. I bought 100 airplanes, and used chartered flights to fly in construction workers from all over the world, batch by batch, right to Future Island. The workers grinded day and night, and to completely prevent Future Island from being tracked on any GPS, I installed massive signal jammers ahead of time, and completely confiscated all the workers' cell phones. I built 10 heavily fortified bunkers on the island, all made with absolute top-tier materials. They can withstand a magnitude 12 earthquake, and they're all perfectly camouflaged. You can't even spot them on satellite. But honestly, those are just a smokescreen. The real Doomsday Bunker is actually hidden deep underground. It can literally take a direct nuclear hit. It's fully proofed against biochemical attacks, too. Even if some mutant zombies try to dig their way down, they'd never get through the 5-meter thick steel walls. The surface bunkers have secret passages, leading straight underground, but these passages are incredibly narrow. They only fit one person at a time, and they're laid out like a total maze. Even if some lucky bastard actually finds the right path, and makes it to the main gate, there's no way they'd survive the deadly traps I've rigged along the way. And if one passage gets blown up, I can always take another route to get back to the surface. Otherwise, this whole bunker would just become my own living coffin. When the apocalypse hits, power is everything. To sort out the energy issue, I rigged the island with wind and tidal power generators. Oh, and nuclear power, of course. I built 5 nuclear reactors. 2 massive ones handle the daily load, while another large one and 2 medium-sized ones are kept purely on standby. These 3 large and 2 medium reactors are scattered deep underground and across the ocean floor. I've even got biogas digesters down there. I even stocked up on hand-crank generators, plus a massive supply of batteries and diesel, just in case. As for water, piece of cake. I set up rainwater catchers, desalination plants, and tapped straight into a groundwater purification system. It can take the filthiest, most contaminated water, and filter it into perfectly clean drinking water. I've got high-temperature flash sterilizers, cryogenic virus killers, UV sanitizers, and all kinds of chemical purification rigs. The wastewater system is custom-built to handle any sewage we produce down in the bunker. And just in case of massive floods, every single wall is completely waterproofed. The blast doors are fully airtight, and the underground drainage is incredibly heavy-duty. I've installed multiple air filtration systems, guaranteeing an endless supply of fresh, clean air down here. On top of that, I stockpiled 100,000 oxygen tanks for absolute worst-case scenarios. The underground shelter is divided into 12 separate zones, so even if a couple of them fail, the rest will keep running just fine. Each zone has its own specific purpose. 3 of them use cutting-edge automated farming tech, growing veggies, breeding fish, and raising chickens. 2 whole zones are just for storage, packed with enough supplies, meds, food, and water to last me 10 solid years. The other zones have living quarters, a kitchen, a dining hall, an entertainment lounge, a gym, bathrooms, and a fully stocked med bay. Whenever those clueless NPCs started getting suspicious of my massive project, I just stuffed their mouths with cash. And of course, they worked even harder just to get paid. Money? Ha, I spend it like water. I literally couldn't run out if I tried. I took a trip to the States and bought a massive arsenal of heavy weaponry, including mobile combat mechs and heavy-duty clearance bots. When you throw enough cash around, you can even get your hands on 2 actual nukes through the black market. Hidden out in a private bay, I've stashed a nuclear sub and a private jet. There's a direct tunnel from the bunker that leads right to them. I hired 2 instructors to train me every single day, just so I can pilot the sub and the jet myself. And to stop any rogue players with superpowers from sneaking up on me, I had my guys go way out into the water and drop a massive ring of artificial reefs. Any large ship gets too close, it's sinking instantly. And just past that, I set up a massive, high-voltage electric perimeter fence. I walled off the entire island, right along the coastline in the water. I planted mines, and set up radar systems. It can detect anything getting close to the island, so I can shoot them down right away. I even threw up a massive electric grid in the sky, just in case infected birds tried to land on the island. It took a whole year, but the island's defense system is totally locked down. Of course, to throw my rivals off the scent, I set up flashy tourism projects all over the world, just so the other players wouldn't get suspicious. I also prepped a few backup shelters. If push comes to shove, you can escape to any of them without needing a plane or even stopping for gas. Once I shipped out the last batch of NPCs, I was the only soul left on the island. Then, I threw down some serious cash and bought out the space exploration tech company. I bagged all 6,122 satellites in orbit, just to make sure my internet never goes down. Over the past year, I also bought up all the global airlines and shipping fleets. Then, during the final week, I ordered every single plane and ship to be scrapped. The whole world thought the billionaire had completely lost his mind, trashing every piece of long-distance transport. The NPCs were all saying, "This rich guy is out of his head," but only the players knew the truth. This global tycoon was their rival. Suddenly, a private message popped up on the player chat interface. It was Joe Furren asking me, "Lin Yunshi, are you the crazy billionaire?" He was the only one who saw me pick the infinite wealth option. I completely ignored him. A week later, the apocalypse actually hit. Those players who had grinded their superpowers to the max level were all itching for a fight. The names and ID numbers of the 300 players flashed across the world chat. I was number 99, Joe Furren was number 100, and Shu Junjen was number 101. The system announced, "Attention please, the apocalypse has now begun. This game will run continuously, until only one player remains standing." Nobody saw it coming. The apocalypse started with an overwhelming, apocalyptic downpour. From north to south, days of intense, torrential rain triggered a massive flood. It was just like the prehistoric floods from the myths, absolutely devastating. It poured on Future Island too, but since the island is small, the storm clouds passed over after just 2 days. I didn't even have time to retreat to my underground bunker. But those players with superpowers, they were completely blindsided. System, what the hell are our powers supposed to do against a massive flood? Yeah, seriously? System, you're playing dirty. The world chat was blowing up like crazy. The system replied, did I ever say the apocalypse would definitely be a zombie virus? That shut everyone right up. Aside from me, when everyone else spawned into this world, they started with practically zero assets. For the past year, they were busy grinding their powers and hustling to make a buck. They worked themselves to the bone, but the supplies they managed to hoard were still pretty pathetic. Only a handful of players who used their powers for shady business managed to score a villa and build a shelter in their basement. But when the flood hit, the basements were the very first things to drown. All their supplies were instantly ruined, and the entire villa was swallowed by the floodwaters. Some players had built shelters in underground parking garages. Those flooded instantly too. The high-rise shelters were safe for the moment, but the rain just wouldn't stop pouring. The players didn't have much stockpiled to begin with, and now, they were watching their supplies quickly hit rock bottom. Everyone was in a total panic. Meanwhile, I was just dipping tripe in my hot pot while watching a livestream, my whole room smelling like spicy beef tallow. The streamer was hiding behind their curtains, secretly filming what was happening at the building across the street. Some player was using their powers to loot the place, just setting everything on fire. Guys, this isn't CGI, and it's not some cosplay either. This is a real-life superhuman. He used to be the security guard for our complex. Now he's melting the doors down. This is the 10th apartment he's raided. The stream chat was going absolutely insane. Holy crap, superhumans actually exist? Does this mean the apocalypse is actually happening? Careful, streamer. Once he's done with that building, he's coming for yours next. Call the cops. Hurry. I finished my hot pot, let out a satisfied burp, took a nice shower, and shaved. Then I went back to the stream. The fire-wielding player had alerted the NPCs. A massive squad of SWAT officers on rescue boats stormed the complex, surrounding the building with their guns drawn. The streamer's hands were shaking with pure adrenaline. Bros, this is the first time in my life I've ever seen a real shootout. This guard's fire is way too insane. He just melted right through a massive iron door. The SWAT team breached the building, and a chaotic barrage of gunfire erupted. Countless windows were blown out by the flames, with explosions echoing one after another. Suddenly, a figure was blasted off the roof, plummeting straight into the floodwaters below. It wasn't long before I looked at the game's global chat, and saw a player's name gray out. That meant he was dead. Right then, Joe Furin messaged me again in the private chat. Lin Yunshi, let's team up. Look, we're classmates, and our player IDs are right next to each other. If we ally up, we'll definitely make it to the end. I know you're seeing this. Just say something. My mind control is incredibly strong, and you don't even have a power. I can protect you from the other players. He just kept spamming me with video calls. I still completely ignored him. Team up with him, so that when it's just the two of us left, he can just mind control me and wipe me out. And crown himself the sole winner? Was he severely underestimating my intelligence, or just wildly overestimating his own? Water and power had been cut off. Food was running dangerously low. 3 months of relentless flooding had completely washed away whatever hope the NPCs had left. People finally snapped. Riots, looting, and arson broke out everywhere. Players blended into the chaos, just desperately trying to survive. But how on earth do you hide superpowers? It didn't take long for the higher-ups to notice. The authorities issued a direct arrest warrant for all powered individuals. Anyone caught was shipped straight to a research lab. Within a month, 30 players had vanished from the global chat. Suddenly, the remaining players were like startled birds, everyone utterly paranoid and fearing for their lives. As for me, it was like we were living in two completely different worlds. I spent my days strolling around my private island, soaking up the sun, and checking on my veggie garden. I'd do routine checks on my submarine and airplane, then hit the beach for some sunset yoga. Afterward, I'd head back for a massive lobster dinner. Sometimes I'd chill in my mega mansion and play video games, or swim a couple of laps in the pool. Future Island was an absolute utopia. I was living my best life. But my little paradise didn't last long. Someone still ended up selling me out. Up on the world chat, someone sent an anonymous message. Player 99 is the richest man in the world. He definitely built a bunker before the apocalypse hit. If we just find Player 99, we can all survive. The global chat, which had been dead silent for ages, completely blew up. I saw the news. I knew that billionaire was a player. I just didn't know exactly who. So it's Player 99, huh? Player 99, get out here and say something. You're out there living it up, eating and drinking like a king, while watching hundreds of us suffer. You're sick, man. Exactly. Players like him need to be wiped out. Find Player 99, then we can actually survive this. Let's get him, boys. Kill Player 99. Every single player in the game was absolutely furious. They wanted to skin me alive. I just wanted to keep a low profile and survive in peace. But you guys just had to drag me into this. I cracked my knuckles, and typed a message in the global chat. Hey everyone, calm down. I am Player 99. You want the bunkers? Fine, I can give them to you. But what? Spit it out. Stop playing games. If you don't tell us right now, we're coming for you. We'll strip you of everything you own and kill you. I just smirked, and kept typing. But I only built bunkers in 4 places. China, the US, Germany, and Australia. And each bunker can only hold a maximum of 20 people. I marked the 4 locations on the map. There are over 200 of you out there. There's just no way to fit everyone. Don't waste your time, so I'm begging you guys. I'll give you the passcodes to the bunkers. It's first come, first served. Just please, don't come after me. The second I hit send on those codes, the entire player base lost their minds. As long as they rushed to a bunker, they could survive the incoming flood. I rubbed my stiff neck and swiped the player interface closed. Time to wash up and go to sleep. I bet tomorrow is gonna be another wildly entertaining day. Over the course of just one night, some players had already reached the bunkers. Most of them were the ones with speed powers. The bunkers were built on high ground, completely safe from the floodwaters. The moment they cracked open those heavy doors, it was like stepping straight into heaven. I mean, I didn't hold back when I built those 4 bunkers. They were top tier. They had absolutely everything. The freezers were stuffed to the brim with frozen food. Player 58 smugly started a live stream in the global chat. Man, I didn't expect this place to be so sick. Being rich is freaking awesome. They were in there feasting on steaks and roasted lamb, chugging down expensive wine. The table was completely loaded with a massive feast. 12 people had already made it inside. Player 58 spoke up. Hey guys, we all took a vote, and we're locking down the China bunker. We've only got so many supplies in here, so the rest of you shouldn't even bother coming. The rest of the players still making the trek saw the stream and absolutely lost it, screaming and cursing. People just kept showing up outside the bunker. They figured, instead of drowning or starving to death, they had to fight for this one last lifeline. Pure survival instinct made them completely reckless. They begged the guys inside to open the doors, but the ones inside had already deadlocked it. No matter how hard the crowd outside pounded on the walls, or even blasted it with their superpowers, they couldn't even dent those massive steel doors. And the players inside? They were just sitting there, gloating. I suddenly piped up and said, wait, didn't they say this thing could hold 20 people? Isn't there still room for 8 more? I even have an override code. Even if they locked the main doors, you can still get in from somewhere else. The hidden door is in the southeast corner. Just look for the carved brick at the base of the wall. Give it a twist, and the secret door will pop right open. Number 58 was absolutely furious, cursing at me. Number 99, stop stirring up trouble. The players outside instantly rushed toward the hidden door. They twisted the carved brick, and sure enough, a secret door opened up in the ancient wall. The players scrambled over each other, desperately charging in to fight for those last 8 spots. Terrified that they wouldn't make it inside, out there, the players fought desperately for those limited spots. Triggering a brutal clash, the whole scene plunged into total chaos. The players already inside the shelter couldn't sit still either. They were all agility types, with obviously low combat power. If they didn't close those doors right now, and let the heavy hitters rush in, they'd be absolute sitting ducks. The 2 combat-focused players who had just stormed in realized this too. They instantly formed an alliance to fend off the people outside. Amidst the chaos, the death count on the public screen started ticking up. I massaged my temples. and switched over to the camera feeds of the other 3 shelters. Human nature is the exact same no matter where you look. All hell had broken loose outside the other 3 shelters, too. I stared coldly at the numbers on the screen. Out of all the camera feeds, there was no sign of Joe Furren anywhere. Makes sense, honestly. Why would a guy like him hide in a shelter? Speak of the devil, Joe Furren sent me a message right at that moment. Lin Yunxi, he wrote, look at us. We didn't even form an alliance, yet we're working together. In such perfect harmony, we were practically born to be on the same team. Have you no shame? I shot back. You leaked my identity to everyone. You painted a massive target on my back, Joe Furren. Hey now, no need to be so mad. You should be thanking me for thinning out the competition. While we were chatting, the shelter reached maximum capacity, and the heavy doors automatically locked shut. Outside, the people who didn't make the cut were still fighting a losing battle. Meanwhile, the players inside were celebrating. They had absolutely no idea what was waiting for them. I let out a dark chuckle and replied to Joe Furren, it's a real shame you're not inside that shelter. With that, I slammed the detonator button. The 1,000 tons of explosives buried beneath the shelters instantly erupted into an ocean of fire. When the smoke cleared, player count had dropped by 116. Only 91 players were left alive. A long moment passed before Joe Furren finally sent me another message. I underestimated you. I honestly thought you were just some pushover nerd. Well, thanks for the assist. Otherwise, it really wouldn't have been easy to herd that many players into the shelters. The people most likely in the entire world to reach Future Island without planes or ships are now dead. I've been plotting for over a year on how to wipe them all out in one fell swoop. Those shelters were always meant to be their graveyard. The shelter explosions wouldn't hit the news this fast. The rest of the surviving players had absolutely no clue what just happened, but Joe Furren knew instantly. That meant he was watching the whole thing unfold from a safe distance. Congratulations on becoming the player with the biggest spy network. You have unlocked an extra reward. I am looking forward to your stellar performance. When I saw this reward, I just could not help but laugh. See, this apocalypse has always been about survival of the fittest. The players did not feel scared at all about others getting wiped out. In fact, they were thrilled to have fewer competitors. But the rain had to stop eventually. 4 months later, the floodwaters slowly receded. The submerged land finally surfaced, and the sun rose once again, shining down on the devastated earth. Everyone breathed a huge sigh of relief. They thought the nightmare was finally over, but little did they know. The floodwaters brought a plague. Many of the fallen NPCs started mutating. They survived Stage 1, the apocalyptic flood. Now comes Stage 2, the zombie outbreak. Did you not say there would be no zombies last time? Go back and look closely. I never actually said this apocalypse would not have zombies. Now things are getting interesting. Are the infected not even better? That player 99 is just waiting to get taken out. It is finally our turn to turn the tables. Shu Junzhen sent me a private DM. Lin Yunxi, you do not have any special abilities. There is no way you will survive this zombie apocalypse. If you share some of your supplies with me, and tell me where you are, I can come over and protect you. I slowly typed out a single question mark. I knew exactly how Shu Junzhen managed to survive. She completely relied on her earn love ability. She scammed all of her neighbors out of their supplies. When the rescue team arrived, she was the very first one they pulled out. The whole time, she used her earn love power, shamelessly making everyone pamper and protect her, stealing away other people's chances of survival. When the rescue boat passed by a half-submerged building, they heard a baby crying inside. The rescue crew wanted to head over and check it out. But Shu Junzhen clung onto the older man steering the boat. Mister, my chest hurts so much. I can barely breathe. Please, can we just leave? It is okay, it is okay. We will leave right now. Yeah, sorry, not sorry. I have absolutely zero interest in dealing with trash like her. Plus, the fact that Shu Junzhen knew I was the wealthiest player, that was definitely no coincidence. The infected crisis erupted across every continent. Right after surviving the massive floods, humanity was hit by this mutant outbreak. Global society completely collapsed overnight. The low-level walkers were not that hard to handle, but the virus spread way too fast. After spreading endlessly, the virus began to mutate. It was exactly as I had predicted. Mutants with real intelligence and special abilities quietly began to surface. The players quickly realized that staying solo meant certain doom, so they started banding together to build survival bases. They had to fend off the endless hordes. But these bases did not just have to fight the infected. They also ended up fighting each other, ruthlessly plundering supplies and territory. Facing this rampant virus, I had no choice but to lay down massive steel nets in the ocean. I had to stop any infected fish from reaching Future Island. I even set up an electric grid in the sky. It stopped any birds from landing. The sunlight seemed a bit dimmer now. Whenever it rained, I hid away inside my underground bunker. Only when the machines confirmed the rainwater was toxin-free did I finally dare to step outside. The communications network on land had been destroyed a long time ago. The NPCs could only rely on shortwave radios to pass messages. But I did not need that ancient tech. I had thousands of satellites in the sky, letting me monitor the entire planet in real time. And just like I thought, the birds were absolutely carrying the virus. The virus struck the fragile island nations, instantly turning them into a living hell. One country after another vanished from the apocalyptic map. Despair hung heavy in the air. My heart was heavy, too. The sheer horror of the apocalypse was just suffocating. I desperately wanted to go home. The player count kept dropping, one by one. Now, we were down to just 30 players. And an uninvited guest had just arrived at Future Island. It was a mutated bird. The moment it flew into the airspace over Future Island's waters, it crashed right into the electric grid. In a flash, the high voltage fried it to a crisp. But a single feather managed to slip through, drifting down from a gap in the grid. Before it even touched the ground, a robot dog unleashed a blast of fire, reducing it to absolute ash. This bird must have flown over from one of the other Pacific Island nations. From that day on, massive flocks of birds would fly over Future Island every single day. The grid was completely covered in dead birds. The robots were working around the clock, patrolling the entire island and torching the infected carcasses with flamethrowers. They had to constantly clear the grid. If things were this bad on Future Island, I couldn't even imagine the nightmare everywhere else. I stopped my daily walks on the beach, and immediately moved down into the underground bunker. Today was New Year's Day. Nobody left in the world was in the mood to celebrate. Nobody except me, that is. I still needed that sense of ritual. I put up red couplets in the living room and hung up some traditional knots. I laid out all my favorite dishes on the table. And of course, a big plate of dumplings was a must. As I ate my New Year's Eve dinner, I put on the very last Spring Festival gala broadcasted before the apocalypse hit. No matter what the era, having money always guarantees you a better life than everyone else. That's just an undeniable truth. I thought back to my old home, my loving mom, my rock-solid dad, and my sweet, doting grandparents. Every single spring festival, we would all get together. Mom and dad would cook up an absolute feast. We'd stay up late together, and I'd score a massive pile of red envelopes. But now, I'm all alone. The pain in my chest was unbearable. If I died in the real world, they would be so utterly heartbroken. No matter how luxurious my life in the apocalypse was, nothing could ever replace the warmth of my own home. I have to go back. I absolutely have to be the last one standing. I snapped a photo of my New Year's feast, with the gala playing right in the background. In the picture, I had this huge, festive grin on my face, and the food on the table was steaming hot. Then, I fired the photo off to Joe Furren. Less than a minute later, he had already blasted my picture onto the global world chat for everyone to see. I could just picture the other players losing their minds. Furious comments instantly flooded the screen. Player 99, you better watch your mouth. But I couldn't care less. I shot back with absolute arrogance, bring it on, losers. I'll be waiting. That is, if you can even find me. I flipped open my laptop and pulled up the files I had gathered on the remaining 30 players. Long before the apocalypse hit, I had already planted my eyes and ears all over the world. They pinpointed the exact locations of every scattered player, and had been tracking them for a long time. I knew every single one of their strengths and weaknesses inside out. When the world ended, my mercenaries only survived because of the massive stockpiles I had prepared. In return, they kept working for me, and I kept unlocking new supplies to keep them loyal. It's like they always say, money talks, even in hell. In the apocalypse, supplies are the most useful currency. Right now, the world is split into 3 major factions. The first is the military, which holds a massive, impenetrable arsenal base. Joe Furin took over leadership through mind control. The second faction is the zombie camp, where a zombie king has already emerged. He gained multiple abilities through some twisted methods. And right by his side is Shu Junjen. She has become his closest partner. Number 128 entered the most dangerous and chaotic country in the world, and used his powers to conquer the local gangs. Under his leadership, the gangs grew stronger by looting civilians. The remaining 26 players are all clinging to these three factions. Number 128 can manipulate gravity, which is an incredibly powerful ability. In a one-on-one fight, no player is a match for him, but the gang faction is actually the weakest. I tapped my pen against number 128's profile picture. I'll start with you. Right now, there are exactly 30 players left alive. Next, the game ramps up the difficulty as we enter stage 3, the extreme cold continent. No one has any surplus food left. Throw extreme freezing weather on top of that, and every single person on this planet is going to die. System, have a heart, will you? Sorry, but this system isn't human to begin with. Shu Junjen privately messaged me, Lin Yunshi. When the time comes, only the zombie faction will survive on this planet. And I'll be one of them. You're going to regret rejecting me for the rest of your life. She sent a photo of herself with the zombie king. As his powers grew, his appearance looked more and more human. Well, if that's how it is, then I'll just send you two lovebirds straight to hell. The extreme cold swept across the entire planet. Even my tropical island wasn't spared. Then again, in this doomsday game, natural logic doesn't apply anyway. A devastating blizzard slammed into Future Island. The sky's power grid was the first to fall, completely crushed by the storm. Wind and tidal power plants took a massive hit too. Thank God, the backup nuclear plant in the underground bunker was still running. The gangs were the first to break. They had already bled the civilians dry. Internal tensions skyrocketed, clashes broke out constantly, and superpowered players were wiped out one by one. I slipped into the world chat and privately messaged number 128. Number 128, how about we team up? I've buried a massive stash of supplies on your turf. If you can get to them, your people will survive. It didn't take long for him to reply. What do you want, and why the hell should I trust you? I need you to take out the zombie king. My team of scientists has developed a special serum for the infected. Just spray it on them, and they'll lose all their energy. Look, you know my combat power is absolutely zero. Out of all 30 superpowered players, you're the strongest. You're the only one who can pull this off. We humans might freeze to death, but the zombies won't. The longer we drag this out, the higher their chances of winning. It doesn't matter how many supplies I have. They'll eventually run out, and number 101 will be the last one standing beside her zombie king. To earn his trust, I sent a squad of mercenaries to drop off a dose of the serum, along with a huge shipment of supplies. I had already secretly relocated a group of top-tier scientists. Once they reached the underground shelter, they threw themselves entirely into the research. Hard work pays off. The serum was finally a massive success. We just had to wait for number 128 to make his move. The syndicate tested the serum on one of the infected. The monster was neutralized in seconds. Number 128 totally took the bait. He figured if it came down to just the two of us, he could crush me without breaking a sweat. In his arrogant eyes, I was nothing but the weakest player on the board. Teaming up with me was the obvious play. So, number 128 agreed on the spot. I just smirked and replied, "Pleasure doing business with you." I had already prepped a massive supply drop, along with the so-called cure for the infected. I hired some mercs to airdrop the packages to our rendezvous point. The second number 128 got his hands on the goods. He barked, "Move out," and his crew instantly mobilized. He rallied every single awakened ability user in the syndicate. They launched an all-out assault straight at the Alpha Mutant's lair. Within minutes, the world chat was broadcasting it live. Syndicate grunts armed themselves with sprayers. They pumped that pale blue serum right into the swarming horde of the infected. The monsters let out agonizing, blood-curdling shrieks. Their bodies literally melted away before our eyes. In seconds, they were reduced to puddles of smoking sludge. The world chat exploded. People were losing their minds, spamming the feed with endless praise for number 128. Every single player watching was hyped beyond belief. It was like they were finally witnessing the dawn of a new world. Number 99, are you seeing this? Once I wipe out these freaks, you're dead meat, all your wealth. And that precious island of yours? They're all going to be mine. I just leaned back into my sofa, and took a slow sip of my coffee. Watching the live feed, a cold smirk crept across my face. Fools always dig their own graves with their arrogance. On the battlefield, it was a total massacre. Number 128 and his syndicate tore through the hordes like wet paper. It didn't take long, before they breached the inner sanctum where the Alpha Mutant was hiding. But right at that moment, the Alpha Mutant stepped out from the shadows, dragging Shu Junjian along with him. Number 128 just let out a cold laugh. Go to hell, he roared at the top of his lungs. The ground beneath his feet instantly erupted into a violent earthquake. A massive slab of earth was ripped straight out of the ground by his telekinesis, hovering right above the Alpha Mutant and Shu Junjian. He threw it down to crush them, but right at that critical split second, something went horribly wrong. Number 128's face instantly drained of all color. His body wavered in midair and he nearly plummeted to the ground. That colossal chunk of earth totally lost its anti-gravity hold, crashing down with a deafening boom. What the hell is happening? My powers. My abilities are fading. Mine too. My flames are dying out. Ah, pure panic ripped through the syndicate ranks like wildfire. They quickly realized a terrifying truth. Anyone who had even touched that blue serum was having their powers rapidly drained. That stuff was never a cure for the infected. It was a customized cocktail I had my scientists engineer. Sure, it completely shreds the biology of the infected, but it also violently unravels the mutated gene sequences inside ability users. The infected melt away, and the awakened become completely powerless. The Alpha Mutant obviously picked up on the shift. He let out an earth-shattering roar. The horde that was just getting slaughtered plunged back into the fray with absolute bloodlust. The tide of the battle flipped in an instant. Number 99, you set me up, you bastard. See, without your powers, you're no different from ordinary people. Oh, right. I forgot to tell you, this antidote evaporates incredibly fast. As long as you stay in the center of the battlefield, you'll be affected. On the live feed, number 128's gang was in total panic mode. Stripped of their powers, facing that endless horde of zombies, they were basically just lambs to the slaughter. Shu Junjian, hiding behind the Zombie King, shot me a message. Lin Yunshi, thanks for the big gift. Once we're done cleaning up here, we'll be paying a visit to your future island next. HMPH. I replied to her, you're welcome. The real show is just getting started. Just as the gang was about to be completely wiped out, another faction suddenly stormed the battlefield. It was Joe Furren, but instead of attacking the zombies, they turned their guns straight at number 128 and his remaining men. Number 128, drop your weapons and we'll spare you. With bloodshot eyes, number 128 tried desperately to activate his powers again. But in the end, he only barely managed to make the pebbles at his feet twitch. He had lost, entirely and completely. Joe Furren didn't give him any chance to turn the tables, instantly unleashing his mind control ability. After a burst of gunfire, number 128's avatar on the public screen turned gray. The number of surviving players dropped to 29. Joe Furren effortlessly cleaned up the mess, absorbing all the gang's remaining forces and supplies. He didn't linger in the fight, swiftly pulling his troops out of the battlefield. The Zombie King had also taken heavy casualties in this clash, and opted not to chase after them. The entire world temporarily fell back into an eerie, dead silence. It wasn't long before Joe Furren sent me a private message. 2 birds with 1 stone. What a brilliant scheme. Not only did you take out number 128, but you weakened the Zombie King right along with him. Lin Yunshi, you're even more terrifying than I imagined. I hit him back. Didn't you just swoop in and reap all the rewards yourself? Joe Furren said, we are the absolute best allies for each other. Let's team up. We'll take out the Zombie King first, and then we'll settle the score between the two of us. Sounds tempting, but that mind control of yours makes it really hard to trust you. I swear, until the very last enemy falls, I absolutely will not use my powers on you. I read the message and smirked. In this apocalypse, promises are thinner than paper. Fine, but you need to show me some real sincerity first. What kind of sincerity? I replied to him, I want Shu Junjian dead. That ability of hers to manipulate love is way too bizarre. Her staying by the Zombie King's side is a massive wildcard. Joe Furren went silent for a long moment. Deal. Within 3 days, you'll see her name turn gray. Hanging up the comms with Joe Furren, I immediately pulled up Future Island's defense feeds. The extreme freeze was still going strong. The island's wind and tidal power systems had completely crashed. Even the overhead power grids were crushed by the thick snow and ice, rendering them totally useless. Thank God the underground nuclear plant could still pump out enough energy. But the cracks in our physical defenses were now a very real, staring problem. I'm afraid our peaceful days are coming to an end. I immediately gave the order. Have the robot units step up their patrols across land, sea, and air. At the same time, I activated another defense system hidden beneath the ocean floor, a surveillance network made up of countless micro-underwater bots. Anything trying to sneak up from underwater won't escape my sight. 2 days went by, and there was still no movement from Joe Furren's side. Instead, Shu Junjen actually reached out to me. On the video feed, she was wearing this gorgeous evening gown, sitting on a throne made entirely of white bones. The zombie king was kneeling on one knee right in front of her, kissing her fingers with total devotion. Lin Yunxi, do you see this? He's trying so hard to turn back into a human, just for me. This entire zombie empire is going to be my dowry. Joe Furren actually thought he could kill me? So naive. Those people he sent are all my new subjects now. So, you're just calling to show off? No, I'm giving you one last chance to bow down to me. I can make you a prince, second only to me. Otherwise, when my army flattens Future Island, your death will be incredibly ugly. I just cut the feed. This woman has completely lost her mind to this twisted queen fantasy. But I guess it makes sense. Backed by the strongest power on the planet, she really does have the right to be arrogant. But she miscalculated one tiny detail. She thought my biggest weapons were just wealth and technology. What she didn't know was that my real trump card was never any of those things. On day 3, Joe Furren's message finally came through. Plan failed. Shu Junjen is way more cunning than we thought. Oh, really? It's like she can predict danger before it happens. I stared at the surveillance screen, a cold smirk creeping onto my face. On the monitor, a tiny red dot was rapidly zooming in on Future Island. It was a mini submersible, moving at an insane speed, right through the blind spots of my defense system. And the guy piloting it? It was none other than Joe Furren. What a brilliant little distraction. He faked teaming up with me against Shu Junjen to grab my attention. But in reality, he sneaked over here himself to deal me a fatal blow. He probably thought that as long as he could mind control me, everything on Future Island would be his for the taking. Joe Furren, you really took the bait. I lightly tapped the desk, pulling up a 3-dimensional hologram of Future Island. The red dot representing his sub was sneaking right through the security loophole I deliberately left open. It was an old, abandoned underwater cable tunnel. He was silently slipping inside. He probably thought he was a ghost, quietly sneaking right into my weak spot. I spoke a command into the empty air. Activate sensor number 7. Guide the target inside. Understood, master. My voice blasted through the dock's PA system, echoing loud and clear inside his submersible. Welcome to Future Island, player 100. Instantly, every single light in the dock flashed on, lighting up that tiny pool of water as bright as day. The water level immediately began dropping fast. His submersible was instantly left stranded on the bone-dry metal floor. He was basically trapped inside a sealed iron box. The hatch popped open, and Joe Furren stepped out. His face was pale and looked absolutely furious. He looked up at the security cameras surrounding him. Joe Furren gritted his teeth and spat out, "You knew all along." He knew damn well that I was watching him. "I've already prepared the best suite for you. How could I not know when my guest arrives?" I replied with a smirk as my holographic projection appeared right in front of him. I looked down at him as he snarled, "You really think a place like this can hold me?" His eyes gleamed with a strange light, and an invisible psychic field instantly erupted outward. "Save your breath," I told him. "This dock is forged from a specialized alloy. The inner walls are coated with a psychic barrier. Your powers are a total joke in here. Why don't we discuss a new partnership instead?" I fired back. "I merely invited you over to my turf as a guest. After all, roughing it out there in the harsh elements is nowhere near as cozy as my Future Island. Look at your troops now, completely leaderless. Meanwhile, Shu Junjen's undead army is dying for some action. There is absolutely zero chance she lets this golden opportunity slip by. I'll take care of Shu Junjen for you. In return, you hand over all the military's resources and survivors." straight to me, and after that, I'll send you straight to hell. Pretty fair trade, wouldn't you say? Joe Furren's face instantly dropped. He knew exactly what I meant. Now that I had captured their commander-in-chief, his army would inevitably spiral into total chaos. And Shu Junjen would never pass up such a perfect opening. I kept pushing. Joe Furren let out a furious roar. Suddenly, Shu Junjen's global livestream popped up on the world's public channel. On screen, she was still perched on that throne of white bones, but the zombie king beside her looked completely different. The dark, bruised veins all over his body had completely vanished. He had fully evolved. To all the surviving players out there, let me introduce you to someone. My beloved, the one and only god of this new world. Oh, right, I almost forgot to tell you one little thing. Joe Furren's entire army has already sworn their absolute allegiance to me. The zombie king by her side looked as devastatingly handsome as a god. Only those glowing scarlet eyes betrayed his inhuman nature. Across the world's public chat, a dead silence fell over the remaining players. Joe Furren's military was supposed to be humanity's absolute last line of mass defense against the undead. But now, that very defense line had actually turned traitor. In the blink of an eye, Shu Junjen had become the most powerful player in this apocalyptic death game. Down in the holding cell, Joe Furren had been anxiously pacing around. The second he saw that broadcast, he froze completely solid. He screamed frantically at the security camera. "Looks like your control was no match for her love," I mocked. All the color drained from Joe Furren's face in an instant. He collapsed to the cold floor, his eyes completely dead and unfocused. Lin Yunshi, Shu Junjen's voice echoed. "The power of the entire world rests in my hands now. Your pathetic little island, and all your wealth, they will all become my spoils of war. Kneel before me, or die." I just chuckled. I cut off her stream right then and there. Immediately after, I shot Shu Junjen a private message. "That's quite a hefty dowry you've got there." "I absolutely love it," Shu Junjen fired back almost instantly. "Too bad, it's too late for you." "Oh, no," I typed back. "What I mean is, I'll gladly be taking that dowry off your hands." I followed up with, "And as a little thank you gift, I'm going to treat you to one hell of a fireworks show." The moment I hit send, I immediately patched through to another comms channel. "Early morning. How are the preparations for the plan coming along? Boss, 3 rods from God have locked onto the target area. Ready to drop on your command." The so-called rods from God are orbital kinetic weapons developed at a massive cost by the space exploration company I bought out. Relying purely on sheer kinetic energy, they deliver the destructive power of a small nuke, but without any of the radioactive fallout. "Boss, the rods from God are ready. There's no way to intercept them, and absolutely zero warning." I just gave the global map a light tap. The spot I tapped was the exact coordinates of Shu Junjen and her zombie horde. Right at that moment, the sky suddenly lit up. 3 pillars of light, even brighter than the sun, tore right through the gloomy clouds, crashing down from the heavens. No sound, no shockwave, either. It was as if the whole world had just been put on mute. The high platform was completely gone, leaving nothing behind but a massive, smooth, glass-like crater. The surrounding zombie horde, like puppets with their strings cut, collapsed to the ground in perfect unison. The world's public chat, after a solid 1 minute of dead silence, absolutely exploded. What the hell was that just now? Was that a miracle? Was it player 99? It has to be him. In that moment, all the surviving players finally understood what having infinite wealth truly means. On the player list, Shu Junjen's name, along with the names of the players under her command, all turned gray. I leaned back in my chair and let out a long, deep sigh of relief. The world was finally quiet. Now, the only ones left were the military base. Those few players controlled by Joe Furren, and a handful of lone wolves. They weren't a threat at all. I looked down at the absolutely devastated Joe Furren in his cell, and pressed the intercom button. "The game is almost over. Since we were classmates, I'll give you a proper send-off. Lin Yunshi, if you kill me, you won't live much longer either. There are only a few of us left in the game. The system won't let us live in peace. You don't even have any powers. You're just a walking target." I just let out a light chuckle, my voice echoing through the entire boathouse over the speakers. "You're right, the game really is almost over. So, for the sake of our old school days, I'm going to let you die with some dignity." The air inside his cell became blisteringly hot and thin at a terrifying speed. His face instantly twisted from shock to sheer panic. Lin Yunxi, you! He let out a desperate, futile scream. Lin Yunxi, you absolute maniac! Let me out! Lin Yunxi, you maniac! Let me out! I didn't even give him a second glance, just immediately cut the camera feed. A few minutes later, on the game's public chat, the avatar for player 100, Joe Furin, quietly faded to gray. The number of surviving players dropped to exactly 9. The entire world fell into an unprecedented, eerie silence. Every single player left was now totally paranoid, jumping at shadows. They all knew, a single player, relying purely on wealth and tech, slaughtered almost all the espers. The dead silence lasted for 3 whole days. Just when everyone thought they could finally catch their breath, that cold system notification chimed in again. Congratulations to the 9 players advancing to the final stage. Stage 3, the frozen continent, has ended. Now initiating Stage 4, the solar furnace. As soon as the voice faded, the global monitoring screens right in front of me showed the world map being rapidly swallowed by a deep red, indicating extreme heat. The surface temperature was skyrocketing right before my eyes. Glaciers melted in a flash, instantly vaporizing into nothingness. The oceans began to boil violently, churning up monstrous waves that mercilessly crashed into the already shattered continents. The clouds in the sky were completely burned away. The brutal sun scorched the earth with absolutely no cover, pushing past 40 degrees. My future island took a pretty big hit, too. The outdoor thermometer readings shattered the 100 degrees Celsius mark in an instant. Luckily, my underground bunker has its own independent life support and climate control systems. It stayed as cool as a spring breeze inside. But the rest of those surviving players? They weren't having such a good time. They had barely managed to survive the freezing cold. How the hell were they supposed to survive this? It was a literal pressure cooker out there. Player avatars were graying out. Damn, faster than in any previous stage. In just a single day, the number of surviving players plummeted from 9 down to 4. And right at that moment, an unfamiliar player ID started popping up all over the global chat. Player number 7. Through my global surveillance network, I witnessed an absolute miracle. Out on the scorched wastelands of Europe, a single man had conjured a massive ice crystal dome out of thin air, and beneath that dome was a tiny oasis. The temperature was perfect, relying purely on his own powers. He forcefully carved out a sanctuary of life right in the middle of the solar furnace. Swarms of surviving NPCs were dragging their families along, rushing toward that city of ice. Number 7 was an ice esper. And soon enough, the other 2 surviving players sought refuge with him. A new faction was rising at an astonishing speed. I leaned back in my chair, watching the screens with deep amusement. But just as I was about to dig deeper into this number 7, he reached out to me first. Number 99, I know you're there. Let's talk. Boss 7, why the hell are you reaching out to him? He's a literal monster. They're right. Number 7 completely ignored them, just quietly waiting for my response. I tapped my finger and opened a private comms channel. What do you want to talk about? Number 7's face didn't show a hint of surprise. He casually took a seat, his tone incredibly calm. Number 7 spoke up. I want to team up with you. I scoffed. Team up? Every single person in the global chat wants me dead. What makes you think I trust you? Number 7 just smiled, speaking with absolute confidence. Because right now, we are the only 2 people left who actually control our own destinies. But you're trapped in there. With this extreme heat, your robot armies and high-tech weapons are practically useless. And my foundation is way too shallow. My resources are limited. I definitely can't defend against an attack like yours. A strike straight from space. His analysis made perfect sense, every single word hitting right at the core. I replied to him, what's your plan? It's simple. We team up, and wipe out those last 2 players. We can rule this broken world together, right up until the game ends. And then what? When it's just the 2 of us left, we fight to the death, Number 7 said. Exactly, but until then, we are each other's only allies. There's barely anyone left in this world anyway. Rebuilding civilization needs order. Instead of letting the survivors just die in all this chaos, we might as well be the ones to set up the new rules, Lin Yunxi. You're a smart guy, you should know. This is the absolute best choice for both of us. I stared at the screen. At that glittering city of ice standing tall in the scorched wasteland. I spoke up, "Your offer is pretty interesting." Number 7 asked, "So what's your answer?" I replied to him, "I accept your proposal, but the rules have to be made by me." Number 7 said, "Of course. The strong make the rules. That's the one and only truth in the apocalypse." I said, "Perfect, in that case. Those 2 players hiding under your wing. Make them leave on their own. Our alliance doesn't need any dead weight." "Fine." Number 7 didn't hesitate at all. A few minutes later, I watched through the monitors as those other 2 players, faces full of terror and bitter resentment, were kicked right out of the ice city, and immediately turned gray. I opened up the comms with number 7 again. I said, "Now it's just us and the other 3. Number 7 asked, "Where are they?" I pulled up the global map, and right over a mountain range in South America. I pinned a red dot. I said, "I'll use the satellite to fire a high-frequency electromagnetic pulse, briefly jamming their senses. All you need to do is use your powers to completely seal off the mine before they even realize what's happening." Number 7 asked, "You want to bury them alive?" I replied to him, "The scorching sun furnace will handle the rest for us. This is the most efficient and the safest way." Number 7 went quiet for a moment, clearly running the plan through his head. Number 7 asked again, "What about the last player?" I zoomed in on the map. Way over on the other side of the Pacific, I marked a tiny, isolated island. Number 5, a total lone wolf. His power is plant manipulation. He literally turned himself into a tree on a deserted island, and went into deep sleep. Once we take out number 23 and number 45, we'll go wake him up. When do I make my move? I replied to him, "Right now." Got it. A crystal clear bridge of solid ice surged up from under his feet, carrying him at breakneck speed straight toward the mine entrance halfway up the mountain. I issued the command. An invisible pulse descended from space, precisely blanketing the entire mining zone. Deep inside the cavern, player 23, who had been resting his eyes, snapped them open. A piercing ringing echoed in his ears. His partner, player 45, sensed something was wrong too, but it was already too late. Deep freeze. Massive blocks of ice plummeted from the sky, instantly sealing off the entire cave entrance. Right after, the whole mountain began to be swallowed by frost and snow, layer by layer, ultimately forming a massive tomb of ice. I watched the screen in silence, waiting for the numbers on the public board to change. But the numbers didn't budge at all. Instead, a cold, robotic system chime echoed through every player's mind without warning. System alert. Player alliance behavior detected. Severe disruption to game balance. System alert. New mode activating immediately. Hunting season. My heart completely dropped. System alert. Player 99, player 7. One of you will be randomly marked as the prey. The other will be the hunter. System alert. The hunter must eliminate the prey within 24 hours. Upon a successful hunt, the hunter will seize one core asset or ability from the prey. System alert. If the prey successfully survives for 24 hours, they will counter-seize the hunter's core asset or ability. System alert. All other players will now become spectators. You cannot interfere with the game, nor can you be targeted. This twisted system, it never wanted us to team up in the first place. It just wants to watch us slaughter each other. My private comms channel with 7 was forced open. On the screen, 7's face lost its usual composure for the very first time. He furrowed his brows tightly. Clearly, this sudden twist had completely thrown him off balance too. System alert. Marking initiated. A massive roulette wheel materialized right in front of us. It only had 2 numbers on it, 99 and 7. The needle started spinning wildly. My heart was practically pounding in my throat. If I became the hunter, I wouldn't stand a chance. None of my weapons could lock on and eliminate a top-tier esper who can manipulate ice at will in such a short amount of time. But if I ended up as the prey, the needle gradually began to slow down. Finally, it trembled to a stop on one of the numbers. System alert. Marking complete. System alert. Prey, player 99. I was the prey. System alert. Hunter, player 7. The air felt like it completely froze in that instant. I stared at 7 on the other side of the screen, and he was staring right back at me, or rather, staring into the security feed on my end. His eyes shifted. Gone was the calculating look of an ally, replaced by a messy mix of pity, greed, and a cold, dead killer's intent. Seize a core asset, my infinite wealth, my satellite network, my little future island. To him, all of this was a deadly temptation. 7 slowly opened his mouth. His voice laced with a strange magnetism. 7 said, Lin Yunshi. Looks like our partnership is taking a different route. The bridge of ice beneath his feet started extending out toward the ocean. He was coming for me. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Leaning back in my chair, I spoke into the comms, emphasizing every single word. I said, my island isn't that easy to breach. And then I added, but feel free to come die trying. I cut the comms, and immediately brought up Future Island's highest level defense commands. Initiating the Labyrinth Protocol. Protocol initiated. All combat bots, go into Condition 1. Nuclear subs, stand by. Lock onto every single biological target approaching from the surface or the seabed. Oh, and drag Joe Fern's body out of the incinerator. Hang it right on the pier. A cold, robotic voice instantly replied, Command confirmed. Command confirmed. I'm gonna make damn sure number 7 knows exactly what happens when you step foot on my island. Out on the ocean, number 7 was surfing on a glacier. He was closing in on Future Island at an insane speed. Wherever he went, the boiling seawater froze solid, carving out a massive ice road, stretching all the way from South America straight to the heart of the Pacific. It looked like an absolute miracle. Those 2 players trapped in their icy graves? Totally forgotten by now. The whole world had their eyes glued to this system-led manhunt. I pulled up the global chat, and man, it was absolutely blowing up. Number 5 posted, holy crap. The system is actually playing along. This is way too intense. Number 23 chimed in, go number 7. Take out that bastard number 99. Number 45 added, kill him. Then we can finally get out of here. The ultimate showdown out on the ice. Wow, so these guys really aren't dead yet. That layer of ice was barely keeping them alive. They were just trapped rats in this massive hunt. They couldn't do a damn thing. Just sitting there, screaming and crying. I didn't give a crap about them. I kept my eyes locked on the monitors. On the screen, that ice road just kept stretching forward. I was doing the math in my head, tracking its speed and trajectory. This guy was moving way faster than I thought. Give him 3 hours, tops, and he'd breach Future Island's outer defense ring. I swiped my hand and booted up the sonar array. We'd planted those things on the seafloor ages ago. Seconds later, the data started rolling in. Reporting in, boss, we've detected the target. He's deployed a massive swarm of micro ice spikes under the ice layer. He's probing our underwater defenses. This number 7 wasn't just some meathead. Sure, he was ridiculously strong. But he was also super cautious. He wasn't stupid enough to just charge right in. Instead, he was taking it step by step, playing it safe and constantly feeling out our traps. I couldn't help but smirk. Initiate Plan B. Let's give him a little appetizer. Right under the artificial reefs on the edge of the island, I'd already rigged dozens of EMP bombs disguised as rocks. Now, they were all armed and ready. The second number 7's ice road crossed into those waters. His little underwater ice spikes bumped right into those reefs. Boom, I hit the detonate button. There was no massive, deafening explosion. Just invisible waves of energy, violently rippling out through the deep sea. The ice road right under number 7's feet split right down the middle, instantly crumbling and shattering into absolute dust. With nothing left to stand on, he plunged straight down into the freezing ocean. But I knew damn well, a cheap trick like that wouldn't even scratch him. A new block of ice quickly formed right under his feet, catching him perfectly. He stopped dead in his tracks. He looked up, and even from thousands of miles away, felt like he was staring right into my eyes. He knew exactly what he was up against. That was just a warning from me. The viewers on the world screen instantly gasped in shock. Number 23, what the hell is going on? The ice path actually broke. Number 5, this is number 99's counterattack. Interesting, this is getting really interesting. Number 7 didn't dare to recklessly charge forward anymore. He stopped right on the surface of the water, and plunged both of his hands straight into the sea. In no time at all, a massive beast from right in front of him slowly rose up from the sea. It was a giant whale made entirely out of seawater and freezing ice crystals. The sheer size of this beast was way bigger than the biggest cruise ship I owned. It let out an ear-piercing roar that made your ears ring, instantly kicking up massive, sky-blotting waves. Number 7 was standing right on top of the whale's head, looking exactly like a sovereign king commanding a sea god. This was a blatant show of force directed right at me. I stared deadpan at the screen in front of me. Nuclear submarine, stand by for orders. Lock target onto that ice whale. Load torpedoes. Prepare to fire. Firing command initiated. Deep beneath the surface, that nuclear submarine hiding like a phantom directly opened its belly torpedo tubes. Several torpedoes instantly broke away from the sub, leaving long white trails in the boiling seawater, charging straight at that giant ice crystal whale. On the world screen, the messages from the audience were flying by like crazy. Number 23. He actually has a real nuclear submarine. What an absolute madman. Number 5. Using modern weapons to fight off superpowers. Now we're in for a real show. Number 7 stood on top of the whale's head, seemingly sensing that something was wrong underwater. The giant whale beneath his feet immediately let out a massive roar. Its massive body violently plunged downward, trying to dive into the deep sea to dodge the incoming attack. Too bad it was way too late. The speed of the torpedoes was far faster than he could have ever imagined. There were no earth-shattering flashes of fire, just a series of heavy, muffled explosions echoing all the way up from the bottom of the sea. That massive ice crystal whale began to crumble from the inside out. Countless cracks instantly crawled all over its gigantic body. A split second later, it blew apart with a deafening boom, exploding into billions of shattered ice shards. Along with massive clouds of steaming vapor filling the sky, the violent underwater blast churned up a massive whirlpool, sucking in absolutely everything around it. Number 7's silhouette instantly vanished into the thick, blinding white steam. I didn't let my guard down for a single second. Sonar systems continued tracking the target's vital signs. Reporting, Master, the target's signal has completely vanished. Wait, no, it's popping right back up. Position is 30 degrees east by north. Distance, 500 meters out. The steam slowly began to clear out. Number 7's figure reappeared on the surface of the sea. He was standing on a tiny little chunk of floating ice. His face looked a little pale, but he didn't have a single scratch on him. He glared dead straight in the direction of Future Island. This was the very first time a deeply serious look had ever crossed his face. He forcefully hacked open the comms channel and spoke directly to me. Conventional weapons are completely useless against me. Oh, is that so? Then why exactly did you stop? I immediately repositioned a satellite and zoomed the camera all the way in. I could clearly see that the hand he had just plunged into the water was actually shaking slightly. Controlling an ice crystal of that colossal size, while taking the sheer impact of the torpedoes head-on. Using that much power is definitely taking a huge toll on him. I couldn't help but chuckle. Looks like your so-called godlike power isn't limitless after all. Number 7 didn't say a word. He just quietly pulled his hand back. He was done trying to brute force his way through. Instead, he switched up his tactics. He steadily raised both of his hands high, with his palms facing down toward the ocean, starting right from where he stood. Miles of the ocean surface began freezing over so fast you could actually see it happening. The boiling, scalding water hissed loudly, and then, dead silence. In a flash, it turned into solid ice, with the layers freezing thicker and thicker by the second. It kept spreading outward. He was trying to turn this entire ocean into one massive, frozen continent. Number 23 chimed in. What the hell is he doing? Is he trying to freeze the sea just to walk across? Number 45 added, this is insane. Building a glacier inside a blazing furnace. But I instantly saw right through number 7's plan. He wasn't trying to freeze the sea just to walk across. He was trying to completely change the microclimate of the area. That massive sheet of ice would absorb a ton of heat, dropping the ocean's temperature drastically. It would also create a super thick sea fog, and with that heavy fog rolling in, my visual surveillance systems would be practically blind. Then, he could use the cover to sneak onto the island completely undetected. Activate the underwater microwave array. Lock onto the expanding ice sheet up ahead, down on the ocean floor surrounding Future Island. The hidden devices we had built and camouflaged as coral reefs sprang to life in an instant. Invisible bursts of microwave radiation started blasting the underside of the ice sheet with extreme heat. Number 7 was building his glacier incredibly fast, sure, but I was melting it way faster. The freshly frozen ice immediately started thinning out and melting from the bottom up. In seconds, it turned right back into a boiling, churning sea. It was the ultimate clash of ice and fire, creating an absolutely breathtaking spectacle out on the water. On one side, a freezing, miles-long frozen wasteland, and on the other, a violently boiling ocean of raging heat. Number 7's expression grew darker and darker. This pure tug-of-war of energy was draining him way too fast. As for me, I just had to lift a finger and push a few buttons. My power came from 5 underground nuclear reactors. I basically had unlimited juice. Number 7 clearly realized that, too. He finally stopped his pointless, exhausting little ice-making game. Over the comms channel, I could hear him panting heavily. Are you just gonna hide in your shell like a little rat? Too scared to come out? I don't need to get my own hands dirty just to deal with you, Mr. Hunter. You're running out of time, you know. Only 20 hours left. I was pushing his buttons on purpose. I needed him to completely lose his cool. A furious, rabid beast is always way easier to put down than a calm, calculating hunter. And it worked. Number 7 was absolutely livid. He stopped trying to outlast my energy supply, and raised his hands into the air once again. Only this time, he wasn't aiming for the ocean. He was aiming for the sky. The brutal, unforgiving sun was absolutely scorching the earth below. Somehow, Number 7's powers were pulling in the thin, scattered water vapor from high up in the atmosphere. Under his control, all that moisture started rapidly freezing together way up in the sky, until it formed a massive, crystal-clear mirror made entirely of ice. That giant ice mirror hung up there like a floating satellite, and it was slowly adjusting its angle. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Oh, crap. In the global chat, Number 5 realized something was horribly wrong, too. Number 5. What the hell is he trying to do? Why put a mirror up in the sky? Number 23. Wait, look at that angle. He's focusing the sunlight. That's exactly it, he's focusing the sunlight. He's using the sun up there to turn the tables on me. That massive ice mirror has turned into a perfect convex lens. It's gathering all the sunlight from tens of thousands of square miles, focusing it into a single, devastating beam of light. And the target of this beam is actually my underground fortress. The main satellite antenna array extending to the surface. Those are my eyes. It's the core hub I use to control the global satellite network. Once it's destroyed, I'll be completely blind and deaf. Initiate emergency defense. All laser weapons, lock onto the ice mirror in the sky. Open fire, now. On the island, the laser turrets disguised as trees and rocks rose up one after another. Beams of high-energy lasers shot straight into the sky. But Number 7 was already prepared. The surface of the ice mirror instantly formed an even thicker layer of ice armor, and started spinning at maximum speed. The laser beams hitting it could only melt little craters. There was no way to completely destroy it. But that devastating beam of light had already fully formed. It looked like a sword of judgment from the heavens, piercing straight toward my antenna array. Move the antenna array immediately. Retract everything underground. It's too late, Master. The energy density of this light beam is way too high. Our heat shields won't last even 3 seconds. I stared at the rapidly descending beam on the screen, feeling for the first time that things were getting a little tricky. Boom! A blinding flash of white light exploded. The screens across the entire control room instantly turned completely white. The main surveillance feed cut out in a flash. Ear-piercing alarms immediately blared throughout the entire underground fortress. Report, Master. The main satellite antenna has been completely wiped out. Our connection to the global satellite network is down. I have completely lost my eyes. The global public chat instantly erupted in cheers. Number 23. Beautifully done. Blinded him right out the gate. Number 45. Boss Number 7 is an absolute beast. Let's see him act so cocky now. Number 7's voice rang out over the comms channel, carrying a hint of smug, arrogant victory. Now we're finally starting on an even playing field, you blind fool. I leaned back in my chair, slowly letting out a long breath. I have to admit, that was one hell of a beautiful strike. He didn't just destroy my antenna, he destroyed the psychological edge of control I've held all this time. I raised my hand and shut off the blaring alarms. Has the backup communication system booted up yet? Report, Master. The deep-sea fiber optic communication system is online. We are currently trying to connect to our backup servers in Germany and the United States. How long until we're connected? Estimated time is 6 hours. 6 hours. In this deadly game of cat and mouse. That's more than enough time to decide who lives and who dies. I stared at the pitch-black main screen, and actually calmed down completely. Number 7. You think just because you blinded me, I'd be completely helpless against you? Number 7. At least you can no longer act like some almighty god. Looking down on me from way up high. He's already making his move. Without satellite surveillance, I have absolutely no idea which direction he'll come from. He's like a ghost lurking in the shadows, ready to deal me a fatal blow at any given moment. Initiate the final phase of the Labyrinth Protocol. Hang Joe Furren's body up at Pier 1. Yes, Master. Along the coastline of Future Island, every single light went pitch black. The entire island instantly fell into a dead silence. Except for Pier 1, where a solitary, sickly pale spotlight remained on. And right beneath that light, Joe Furren's charred, heat-scorched corpse was strung up high. It swayed gently in the wind, looking exactly like a scarecrow. A scarecrow dripping with pure malice and warning. I was placing a bet. Number 7 is a smart guy, but more importantly, he's incredibly proud. There is no way he'd resort to some sneaky little ambush. He would definitely come right at me. Straight through the front door I prepared for him. Because he doesn't just want a simple win. He wants absolute, total conquest. Time ticked away, second by agonizing second. The tension inside the underground bunker was absolutely suffocating. I fired up all the internal security feeds across the island. The robotic hounds and combat droids stood like silent statues, stationed in every single corridor and every last corner of the island. This bunker was supposed to be impenetrable, but for the first time, I wasn't entirely sure I'd survive. Suddenly, a faint, unnatural noise echoed from the direction of Pier 2. I instantly snapped the cameras over. The feed was pitch black. The thermal imaging picked it up. A human figure, moving incredibly fast. He actually pulled a bait and switch. That corpse at Pier 1 was nothing but a decoy. His real target was Pier 2 all along. All combat units, converge on Pier 2, right now. Fire up the electric grid. Lock down every single exit at Pier 2. Damn it, I completely underestimated how cautious he is. He never even planned on stepping foot inside my bunker. He just stood there in the open clearing of Pier 2, slammed both hands hard into the ground, and a bone-chilling frost exploded outward, spreading like crazy. This wasn't just some normal attack. He was freezing the very bedrock of the entire island. He actually wanted to shatter Future Island, right from its very foundations. That absolute maniac engaged the geothermal defense systems. Now, the massive heating pipes buried deep beneath the island instantly roared to life. Scalding steam violently erupted from the cracks in the ground, fighting desperately to hold back the freezing cold. But Number 7's power was way beyond anything I had anticipated. The ground began to shake violently. Massive, jagged fissures tore across the surface. My underground bunker groaned under the immense pressure for the very first time. If this kept up, he wouldn't even need to break in. He was going to rip the whole island apart first. I couldn't just sit here and take it anymore. I cracked open a comms channel that had been dead for a very long time. Initiate the Eden Project. Initiation confirmed. Boss, we've been waiting for this day for a very, very long time. The voice on the other end was old, raspy, and practically trembling with excitement. It was the leader of that elite team of scientists. The ones I had secretly stashed away in the lower bunkers. Are the serums ready? Everything is set. The moment the target steps foot inside Eden, we guarantee he'll experience true paradise. I locked my eyes on the security feed. On that man, looking like an absolute demon. Hellbent on freezing my entire island. And then, I spoke slowly. Number 7. You've been playing around for a while now. Getting tired? I've prepared a little welcome gift just for you. Do you have the guts to come and claim it? I forwarded a map, sent it straight to his emergency comms. The map only had a single location marked on it. Dead center of Future Island. Right where I built my camouflage. That ridiculously lavish glass greenhouse built right on the surface. I named it Eden. 7 stopped tearing the island apart. He just hovered there in midair, wrapped in this freezing mist, looking exactly like some silent, brooding god. The viewers in the world chat were panicking way more than I was. He stopped. What the hell did 99 just send him? A map. Number 5 chimed in. Marked with some place called Eden. Number 5 again. Yeah, that name just screams bad news. Number 45 typed, it's totally a trap. Boss 7, don't do it. Of course, 7 knew it was a trap. We're both hunters. We can sniff out our own kind from a mile away. But he didn't have a damn choice. Time was absolutely not on his side. For every extra minute he wasted on this island, His chances of surviving dropped right along with it. Then, his deep voice crackled over the comms. I accept your invitation. In a flash, the ice beneath his feet completely melted away. He turned into a streak of pure white light, bolting straight for the spot I marked on the map. Without a single second of hesitation, I instantly pulled up the island's internal security feeds. He was taking the exact, dead straight path I had laid out for him. All the combat drones and auto turrets along the way, I dropped them straight back underground. The whole island was basically rolling out the red carpet for him. Meanwhile, in the world chat, number 5 was just spamming exclamation marks. What the hell is he doing? A duel? 99 is literally just a regular human, he's lost his mind. I wasn't crazy, I was just giving my VIP guest the ultimate royal treatment. It didn't take long, Seven's silhouette appeared right at the greenhouse doors. Outside of Eden, it was a literal blazing oven. But this massive glass structure stood there like some impossible mirage. Inside, it was an absolute paradise of green. Exotic flowers were blooming everywhere. There were even butterflies fluttering around the petals. It was totally out of place in that scorched, ruined wasteland outside. Seven stood at the entrance. He didn't walk in right away. He was dead focused, scanning every little detail. With his insane powers, he could feel even the slightest shift in temperature. He could sense it perfectly. No traps inside Eden, no weapons, no ambushes waiting for him, either. Just a perfectly controlled climate. That sweet, humid air, and the smell of living things. And that was the deadliest trap of all. Lin Yunshi, show yourself. His voice just echoed through the massive greenhouse. I gave him nothing but silence. He stood there for a beat, before finally stepping inside. The absolute second his foot crossed the threshold, the glass doors slid shut behind him. Dead silent, he was locked right inside the most beautiful cage in the world. Soft lights flickered to life all around him. A gentle, cooling mist started spraying from every angle, kissing the delicate petals and turning the whole place into an absolute dreamscape. Seven took this deep, heavy breath. For just a split second, you could see the tension melt from his face. Burning out his powers to fight off that insane heat outside, it had completely drained him. It was the most comfortable he had felt in a long, long time. He totally dropped his guard. That's when I finally hit the comms. Welcome to my garden. Seven's body went completely rigid. He tried to summon his powers, but found his body completely empty. That freezing power he was born with, as natural to him as breathing. It was just gone. He looked down at his hands, showing real panic for the very first time. What the hell did you do to me? I told you, I had a special gift waiting just for you. Do you like it? That mist wasn't just ordinary water. It's a custom neuro inhibitor, engineered by my science team specifically for him. Colorless, odorless, the moment it touches your skin or enters your lungs, it instantly breaks down the mutant genes inside a superhuman's body. It doesn't hurt at all. Actually, it creates a feeling of extreme relaxation and pure euphoria, like being back in a mother's warm embrace. But that so-called heaven is actually hell. Number 7 tried to fight back, but his body wouldn't listen to him anymore. Stumbling back a few steps, he slumped against a massive plant, gasping heavily for air. But the harder he breathed, the more inhibitor he inhaled, and the weaker his body became. On the global live stream, millions of viewers watching through number 7's eyes witnessed this terrifying scene. Number 23 typed, "What the hell is happening? What's wrong with the boss?" Number 5 replied, "His powers, they're completely gone." I took my sweet time, typing back calmly on the public stream. Nothing is impossible. Welcome to the show. Watch how modern science slaughters a god. Slumped on the ground, staring at the impossibly beautiful plants around him, his eyes burned with pure defiance. Number 7 gritted his teeth. You win, but the game isn't over yet. Stage 2. My hologram slowly materialized right in front of him. I stared down at him, admiring him like a flawless trophy. But then, number 7 started laughing. There was zero despair in that smile. Just pure, unhinged madness and sweet relief. Lin Yunshi, number 7 sneered, "Do you really think you've won?" Using every last ounce of strength he had left, he slammed his hand against that massive plant beside him. Except, it wasn't a plant at all. It was my heavily disguised cooling pipe for the underground nuclear reactor. My heart completely dropped. I might not be able to generate ice anymore, but I can still absorb heat. He wasn't trying to sabotage my power plant. He was reversing his own mutation. He was turning himself into a living black hole. A black hole that fed entirely on heat. The scorching solar furnace of the power core. That endless heat, hot enough to melt solid steel. The raging thermal energy finally found a release. Flowing straight through number 7's body. And pouring endlessly into the earth. Suddenly, deafening sirens shrieked through the entire underground fortress. Warning, Reactor 1 temperature critical. Warning, cooling system overloaded, pressure level spiking. Estimated 30 seconds until the reactor core reaches meltdown. The temperature numbers on the main screen were skyrocketing at a terrifying speed. Number 7 was laughing hysterically. He was going to use his own life to light a fuse. For a bomb massive enough to wipe this entire island off the map. He was dragging me to hell with him. The global live stream went completely insane. Number 23 screamed, "The nuclear plant is gonna blow." Number 5, "Run, we can't escape." Number 45, "We're all going to die here." I could only stare dead ahead at the frantic, ticking red numbers on the screen. Number 7's manic laughter ripped through the forced comms, tearing right into my eardrums. He couldn't beat me, so he decided to just flip the whole damn board. My hands flew across the console, desperate to force a power shutdown. I even triggered the emergency protocol to sink the entire reactor into the Mariana Trench. But it was too late. The sheer speed of the heat transfer blew past any mechanical command. 3, 2, just as the numbers were about to hit 0, the entire world suddenly froze. The deafening alarms instantly cut out. The violently ticking numbers on the screen locked onto the final number 1. That twisted, suicidal grin plastered across number 7's face, froze into a grotesque portrait. Then, the cold, completely emotionless system voice echoed through my underground bunker, and right into the minds of every surviving player. Warning, detected player maliciously disrupting the game process. Mutual destruction, violates the sole victor rule. Player number 7 has broken the rules. The second the system stopped speaking, number 7's body convulsed. That terrifying thermal energy he had frantically sucked into his body was violently ripped right out of him, as if by a massive, invisible hand. It morphed into a visible red mist, surging completely back into the cooling pipes. The reactor's temperature plummeted faster than it rose, instantly snapping back to normal. Number 7 collapsed on the floor, his body twitching uncontrollably. There wasn't a single drop of color left in his face. But he wasn't dead. The system clearly had no intention of letting him die that easily. Rule breaker number 7 will be stripped of player status. He will serve as a specimen. To warn all players, a beam of dull gray light struck down from above, absolutely swallowing number 7. Inside that glow, his body slowly solidified into an ashen statue. His face was forever locked in that final moment of bitter resentment and pure terror. On the global chat, number 7's avatar didn't turn gray. It shifted to a bizarre, offline blue, tagged with a horrifying new label, Specimen. He became the very first exhibit in this bloody game. Hunt time mode, forcibly terminated due to target violation. Back in the glass greenhouse, the scorched plants instantly sprang back to life, like absolutely nothing had ever happened. Only that human statue stood silently among the flowers, reminding me of the nightmare that just went down. I slumped back into my chair, letting out a long, trembling breath. For the very first time, I realized that the system itself was the most terrifying enemy in this game. It wasn't some referee, it was an absolute dictator. After a full minute of dead silence, the global chat absolutely exploded. Number 23, a specimen? He got turned into a freaking specimen? Number 5, the system actually stepped in. This is way worse than just killing him. They finally understood, no matter how godlike a player's abilities were. In front of the system, they were nothing but cheap toys that could be snatched back at any moment. And I realized something else, too. The system just wanted to play. It wouldn't let a single soul end this game early. Right at that moment, the system's voice chimed in once again. Remaining players, 4. Game progress is too slow. Initiating the final protocol, the arena. Refusing teleportation counts as a violation. My eyes widened in shock. The arena. The system is going to throw all of us into the exact same cage. My biggest advantage, the absolute defense of Future Island, is about to become completely useless. On the world chat, the reactions of the other 3 players went from terror of the system to a twisted kind of ecstasy. Player 23 typed, "The arena? We're all getting teleported to the same place. Player 45 chimed in, Player 99's little turtle shell is totally useless now. Player 5 added, 24 hours left. The final prep time. Player 99, wash your neck and wait for death. They didn't have to figure out how to breach my island anymore. The system was doing the dirty work for them, dragging me right out of my fortress. I just watched those 3 clowns running their mouths on the screen. I didn't reply. Instead, I switched the camera feed, staring at that lifelike statue of Player 7 in the Garden of Eden. And then, I smiled. 24 hours. To them, it was their final chance to prepare. But to me, that was more than enough time. I opened the master console and connected straight to my team of scientists. Initiate the Nose Arc project. If we're going to the arena, we might as well bring the right toys. On the other end of the line, my lead scientist sounded absolutely thrilled. Boss, all the toys are fully tuned and ready to go. I guarantee the surviving players will experience what true despair feels like. I cut the comms and pulled up a brand new blueprint. It was a streamlined, full-body exoskeleton suit. Its power core was hooked up directly to one of my mini backup nuclear reactors. Start production. Use the absolute highest grade materials in our vault. I want the finished product ready in under 24 hours. A cold, robotic voice chimed in. Command confirmed. Retribution armor. Production initiated. I watched the screen as countless robotic arms whirred to life, feeding gleaming slabs of special alloy right into the 3D printing matrix. The rules of war were about to change completely. If I couldn't be the king of my fortress anymore, then I'd step onto the battlefield myself, and become the sole reaper of the arena. For the time I had left, I didn't rest for a single second. I pulled up every shred of intel I had on players 23, 45, and 5. Player 23's power was sonic detection and attack. His weakness? High-frequency electromagnetic interference. Player 45's ability was petrification. Insanely high physical defense, but totally vulnerable to sudden shifts between extreme heat and extreme cold. Player 5 controlled plants, practically invincible in vegetated areas, but the second they were away from soil, their power dropped to nothing. I targeted every single one of their weak points, and started loading up specialized weapon modules, micro-EMP grenades, thermal shift ray guns, and a highly concentrated, weapons-grade defoliant. I even prepared a special little gift for myself, an illicit stimulant I had my scientists synthesize. It would instantly overdraw my life force, pushing my physical limits to the absolute max for a short window. I called it burnout. I really didn't want to use it, but there are no rules in the arena, only life and death. I had to be ready for anything. Time ticked by, second by second. When the countdown hit the final hour, it completely pitch black. The Heaven's Punishment armor, with dark red energy lines coursing through its joints, stood silently right in front of me. I reached out, gently tracing its cold, metallic shell. From this day forward, I'm no longer just the guardian hiding behind a screen. I will be a walking apocalypse. I stepped inside the armor. The mechanical components automatically locked shut, letting out a series of bone-chilling clanks. A blinding white light flashed before my eyes. I felt my body being engulfed by an overwhelming force. The weightlessness lasted for barely a second. By the time my feet hit solid ground again, I was in a completely unfamiliar place. It was a massive, circular stone structure. Crumbling bleachers, shattered stone pillars, all echoing the glory of what it used to be. It was an ancient Roman Colosseum. I can't believe the system teleported us here. The blistering heat of the sun furnace was still fiercely scorching the earth, but inside the arena, there seemed to be some invisible force, keeping the temperature at a bearable level. Right across from me, 3 figures materialized almost at the exact same time. Number 23 and number 45 stood side by side, glaring at me on high alert. Number 5 stood off to the other side. From the cracks in the stone beneath his feet, green vines were already creeping out. They all locked their eyes on me, and this intensely oppressive black armor I was wearing. The surface of number 45's body rapidly turned to stone. He taunted me with a deep, muffled voice. Number 99, you actually dared to show your face without your little turtle shell? You think throwing on a tin can makes you invincible? I didn't even bother to acknowledge him. Beneath my visor, the retinal display had already locked onto all 3 of their life signatures. Signal scan complete, targets locked, weapon systems unlocked. The system's cold voice echoed endlessly above the Colosseum. Final stage, deathmatch, begins. The rule: be the last one breathing. The split second the system's voice faded, number 5 launched the first strike. The vines beneath his feet erupted like massive, raging pythons, swarming toward me from every direction. The ground instantly cracked open. Countless razor-sharp thorns tore through the dirt, forming a lethal, inescapable web designed to swallow me whole. Number 23 and number 45 weren't just standing there either. Number 45 let out a furious roar, transforming entirely into a stone giant weighing several tons. He charged at me with heavy, thunderous footsteps. And number 23? He simply opened his mouth. An invisible shockwave of sound erupted violently outward with him at the epicenter. The air itself was viciously torn apart, letting out an ear-piercing boom. It was an infrasonic attack strong enough to shatter solid steel. All 3 of them had chosen to team up against me right from the start. They wanted to use their absolute strongest attacks in a single moment, aiming to crush me and my tin can into tiny fragments. The global chat was completely devoid of other players. This battle had absolutely no audience. It was just the 4 of us, and the all-seeing system looking down from above. Facing their devastating combined assault, I stood perfectly still, right at the very last second, just before the vines could touch me. I raised my left arm. BZZZT. A fiercely glowing, blue electromagnetic pulse ring exploded outward with me at the center. The deadly sound waves blasted by number 23 were instantly and completely neutralized the moment they hit the pulse field. He let out a horrifying scream, clutching his ears as he crashed to his knees on the ground. Blood poured from his eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. His brain was scrambled into absolute mush by the sudden overload of electromagnetic waves. Player 23 is dead. As for those wild, surging vines, the exact second they hit the pulse, it was like all their moisture got sucked right out. They shriveled up, turning scorched and black in a flash, and crumbled into dust. Player 5's face completely dropped. He tried desperately to control the plants further out, but realized his powers felt completely cut off by something. The electromagnetic pulse had totally scrambled his biological, electrical signals. That just left player 45 mutated into a massive rock giant. His physical defense was off the charts. The pulse barely even fazed him. His massive, crushing fist was already swinging down, with the force of a landslide, stopping right in front of me. I could actually feel the fierce, rushing wind ripping off that punch. Slowly, I raised my right arm. I didn't even bother to block. Instead, I just spread my fingers. Right in the center of my palm, a miniature reactor flared to life, its energy maxing out in a split second. A hyper-focused beam, fusing ultra-high heat with absolute freezing cold, shot out in dead silence. The ray blasted dead center into the rock giant's chest. There was no massive explosion, just a soft, crackling sound. Player 45's supposedly indestructible rock body started fracturing from the point of impact, spider web cracks spreading everywhere. On one end, boiling heat blasting over 3,000 degrees. On the other, a freezing cold near absolute zero. 2 terrifyingly extreme forces clashing wildly inside his body. The simple physics of thermal expansion and contraction unleashed its most horrifying, destructive power right then and there. Player 45 barely had time to let out one agonizing scream before his massive rock body violently shattered in the next second, blasting into a cloud of flying debris. Player 45 is dead. From start to finish, that fight didn't even last 10 seconds. The entire arena fell into a deadly, chilling silence. It was just me, and player 5 standing off in the distance. Those creeping vines at his feet, the ones that just sprouted, they all slithered right back underground, like they were terrified. He just stared at me. Pure, unfiltered terror plastered all over his face. "You're a monster. You're an absolute monster." I started walking toward him, step by slow step. The Nemesis armor, grinding out a heavy, metallic thud with every single stride. It sounded exactly like the footsteps of death himself. "It's just the 2 of us now." My voice boomed through the external speakers. Cold, hollow, and stripped of all human emotion. Player 5's legs gave out. He was practically collapsing to his knees the second that blue pulse had gone off. His precious, ultimate plant control powers tore apart like a cheap piece of wet paper. And even player 45, with that supposedly unbreakable, bulletproof rock body, couldn't even force me to take a single step back. "Don't, stay away from me. I surrender." I'm out. There's a surrender option in the rules. I forfeit. His voice was shaking violently, choking on raw, undeniable despair. I stopped dead in my tracks. Inside my visor, the HUD was tracking his wildly spiking heart rate. Rules? The only rule here is to be the last one breathing. And the players never get to make the rules. My amplified voice echoed endlessly around the massive, empty arena. Raising my right arm, the energy core in my palm flared right back to life. Player 5 squeezed his eyes shut, just waiting for the Reaper to take him. But right at that exact moment, that freezing, mechanical system voice blared from the skies, echoing everywhere. Warning, combat balance severely compromised, entertainment value critically low, initiating emergency correction protocol, system will rebalance combat power. The bright glow on my right arm was violently snuffed out by some invisible force. The weapon systems on my divine punishment armor were completely locked down, too. I froze right in my tracks. Number 5's eyes snapped open in pure shock. Player 99 is overly reliant on external forces, severely ruining the diversity of the game. Player 5's abilities remain unfulfilled. To ensure the fairness and entertainment value of this final showdown, resetting the battlefield environment. The moment that announcement finished, the entire ancient Roman Colosseum started shaking violently. The rock-hard stone flooring beneath our feet suddenly turned mushy like melted chocolate. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into rich, dark soil. The ruined stands around us were instantly crushed to dust by massive, wildly thrashing vines. Before we knew it, they were replaced by colossal trees piercing straight into the clouds. High above us, the scorching sun was completely blocked out by the thick, dense canopy. Only tiny, scattered specks of light managed to filter through. The air instantly grew heavy and damp, reeking of fresh dirt and lush vegetation. In barely 10 seconds, the sun-baked Colosseum had morphed into a pitch-black, primitive jungle. And in this very jungle, number 5 was the absolute, undisputed king. He soaked in the immense life force surging from the earth beneath his feet. The terror on his face vanished without a trace, instantly replaced by a twisted, almost maniacal confidence. Countless specks of glowing green light floated up from the soil and swarmed straight into his body. The gaping wounds covering his skin began healing right before my eyes. His entire aura skyrocketed to a terrifying new level. Number 5 threw his head back and laughed like a madman. His voice echoed with the pure, unadulterated thrill of cheating death.